Has your child ever been paralyzed by worry or anxious feelings? Or maybe you have struggled endlessly to help your child get off that worry cycle, and instead you feel like all you ever do is make it even worse and you're tired of this. If that's you, you need to watch today's video. I'm going to show you a 4-phase plan for helping move your child off this worry cycle into more productive and healthy ways of thinking that'll last a lifetime and that'll transform the way you interact with your child each and every time they struggle with worry. No matter what age or stage or challenge they face, this can work for you. Amelia and her family were getting ready to go to another church event. They were all excited. It was a big party with lots of games and food and fellowship and music, and they were all getting ready and very excited when, as it was getting closer to the time to leave, Mom and Dad started noticing Amelia struggling with worry. She began to panic about who was coming to the party and would there be any of her friends there, and if they were there, would they invite her to play with them, and if they did, would there actually be games there that were actually for her age, or were they just going to be the baby games? And what about the food? Because Amelia had food allergies, of course, and she was worried about the buffet line, and would there be any cross-contamination? Would there be any safe food that she could eat? Would she do if she suddenly took in an allergen and started to have an attack from the allergies? And what should she do? And Mom and Dad saw this coming on, and they kicked it into gear, and they started working with their child, but everything they tried to do seemed to fail, and they just couldn't get Amelia to understand there really wasn't anything to worry about. Hi, everyone. I'm BJ Muir, and if we're meeting for the first time, I'm a Christian parenting coach. Then I work one-on-one with families and in group settings as well to help families stop worrying and looking at just children's behavior and actually get a picture of what's going on in their child's heart so they could focus their parenting on their child's heart like Jesus focuses on our hearts, so you can see lasting change. And that's what we're going to look at today. So many children struggle with this issue of worry, including children just like Amelia. And so many of us parents struggle as well to figure out a way to help them move forward. Many of us have seen endless videos on different strategies that you can use with kids, deep breathing or taking a walk, doing some exercise, getting a drink of water, all those things. And there's even some really good videos here on this channel. I'll even link down below in the description. But none of those really work at times because a lot of times we're implementing them the wrong way. We're just trying a strategy out and we're not seeing success, and it's frustrating us as parents. I get it. That's because what we're trying to do is not comprehensive enough, is not holistic enough to fully address this worry cycle our child's on. That's what this video is all about. Today, I want to walk you through a 4-phase plan that is simple and effective. I've watched plenty of families, including my own, use these 4 phases with children when they're struggling with worry, and I've watched children have success in conquering that emotion and moving in the right direction, and parents feeling empowered that they can do it. And to do this, I want to give you an acronym, because you can't be trying to remember all 4 phases and looking up this video again and again and again, although you should watch it a couple of times. That will really help you. But you can't be doing that in the moment. We're going to use the acronym CALM to help frame these 4 phases. So we have a situation where a child is struggling with worry or having some anxious feelings, and we see it happening. That's when we move into phase 1, which starts with C. C stands for connect. It's time to connect with our child at this moment. This first step is crucial for getting children off this worry cycle. It's exactly what Jesus does with us. How many times do we go to Jesus worried about something, panicked about the future, not so sure what we're going to do? And does Jesus look at us and tell us, you got nothing to worry about? Don't worry about it. I already solved that problem? No. Jesus connects with us. He sits and listens to us as we express our feelings and what we're concerned about. And then Jesus helps move us forward. But he starts with connection. We know from understanding what attachment does with children, that children who feel bonded and close and attached with their parents feel connected and safe. And that's what we're trying to do in this step. Our child is in this worry cycle. They're not functioning from a brain perspective in that logical, rational area of their brain. They're functioning from that survival portion of their brain. And that portion does not listen to logic and words. It needs something else. It needs connection so it can feel safe. What Amelia's parents could have done, instead of trying to tell her how there was really nothing to worry about and explain how everything was going to be okay, is they simply could have approached Amelia and looked her in the eyes, maybe even taken her hands or put their arms on her shoulder to comfort, and simply said something like, "Wow, Amelia, it looks like you're really worried about tonight. That's got to be hard. Tell me a little bit more." Something like that. Doesn't have to be those exact words, although it can be. but something that just acknowledges that you're feeling worried, you're feeling upset or anxious, and that's got to be hard. We're not saying it's right to worry in this moment. We're not saying, oh, definitely, these are things you have to worry about. We're just simply acknowledging, like Jesus does with us, that you're struggling right now, and that's got to be tough. And in saying that, our child connects with us. They feel heard, they feel understood, they feel safe. And as we start to do that, this worry cycle starts to calm down a little bit. An action you can take right now to help start implementing phase 1 of connecting is think about your response for your child the next time they come to you all panicked and upset and worried and anxious. What is going to be your go-to message for them? So many times when children come to us like this, we're not prepared for it. We're under stress. We're trying to get out the door. There's other things going on, and we're not really on our game. And we end up responding in a way that we're not too proud of later on. You want to come up with a parenting script, a simple one. I gave you a model right there. Something as simple as saying, wow, you're really feeling about this. That's got to be hard. Tell me a little bit more. That alone would be a great response. You also could give your child a choice. Gosh, it looks like you're having some big emotions here. Are you feeling worried or really anxious? And your child might come up with a third word and say, oh, neither. I'm just frustrated because I don't know what to do. Oh, wow. Okay. That's got to be really tough. Tell me more. Just this action and having it set almost like an auto reply on your email when you go away for the week, having it set in your heart and mind and mouth as an auto reply helps move you in the right direction, and it gets us started off on the right foot. So we're ready for phase 2. In phase 2, we have the letter A, which stands for attune. We want to help our child attune their heart and settle and become more peaceful in the process. We started off at C, which was connecting, where our child's stuck in this worry cycle, and just by connecting, we're slowing that cycle down. Attuning is where we help start to transition them off that worry cycle completely. This is where all those videos and blogs and books that you've read that teach you all these different types of calming strategies really do come in handy. This is where they belong. So we want to teach our child things like deep breathing or going to get a drink or doing some jumping jacks or any other number of different strategies that might help them. They're really great. The problem is when we just try to take a kid who's spinning and worrying, tell them, you need to do some deep breathing. Why don't you go take a seat over there? That's not usually effective. And the reason that is failing is because we didn't start with that C, connecting. But since we started with connect, we slowed the cycle down, and now they're more willing to listen to us as we give them some strategies to start to calm their heart, be it a hug, deep breathing, getting a drink of water, whatever it is. We're going to go ahead and do that. Amelia's parents could have done this next. Had they taken the time to just connect with their daughter and just help her feel seen at that moment, they then could have moved into a position where they said, you know, Amelia, a lot of times you feel a lot better after you have a big glass of water. Go into the kitchen, get a glass of water, have a drink, and come back and see me. That could have really worked wonders for Amelia and helped them move forward in the next phase. An action you can take right now is to start thinking about these strategies and what you're going to do. Every child is unique. Every parent is different. Every family is unique as well. And so we need to be thinking about what's going to work for my child. Not every strategy works for every single child. There's times where I give a parent, when I'm coaching them, a suggestion like, oh, why don't you try giving your child a hug and see how that works? And some parents go, you know, my kid loves when I give them a hug. Or sometimes they ask me to rub their back. And great, try this out. And it works beautifully. Other times they say, my kid doesn't respond to hugs. Okay, that's fine. We have other strategies as well. What you can do is go get a piece of paper and sit down with your child one day and have just a 5-10 minute little meeting with them. Fold the paper in half and talk to them about some things you notice that they're really doing well at, but also move into this time where you say something like, you know, I notice though, there's a lot of times where you get really worried about some things, and I want to help you develop more peace so you can handle bigger and bigger problems in life with less worry and more peace. But to do that, we need to come up with some strategies that are going to help you experience peace more quickly. So on the right-hand side of this paper, let's write down just a bunch of ideas, or you can put it on the left-hand side of the paper too. On the left-hand side of the paper, let's put down a bunch of ideas that we could try out and just list anything. We're just brainstorming. Everything's good to write on that side. Doesn't mean we have to try it. We're just putting it down. And then after you've got a pretty decent list going, say, all right, well, let's put on the right-hand side, the other side. Let's just write 2 or 3 ideas that we're going to try out this week. Because we're sort of like Indiana Jones hunting for gold. We're looking for golden treasure strategies that are going to help you long-term experience greater peace. And so maybe on the right-hand side, you write down a couple things like read for 5 minutes in my bedroom, get a drink of water, and take a break. Something like that. all right, this week, or even just for 2 or 3 days, we're going to try these strategies out. And after 2 or 3 days, make this an ongoing conversation. Bring out the paper again. Let them hold on to the paper. It's their strategy paper. Bring it back out. Look at, say, what's working over here? Let's highlight in gold anything that's working. And if something's not working, cross it off and go back to the other side, look at the list and say, oh, let's try this one now and move it over. We're going to keep trial and erroring this process until we find some strategies that really work. Because when you find something that works, oh, your child's face is going to light up and they're going to be able to go to that strategy time and time again. And could you imagine this? They might even use that strategy without your help. And when they're doing things like that, we're going to be moving into phase 3. Phase 1 and 2 were C and A in the word calm, connect, and attune. And L now stands for like. Make sure you hit the like button on this video. It doesn't stand for like, but we'll get into it. Still, hit the like button. I'm hoping that you're finding this really helpful. If you are, hit that like button. Okay, for real, L stands for lean. We need to start leaning on God's truths. If we're going to move forward, if we're going to actually not just take on worry every single time it comes up, but actually reduce the amount of times our child is struggling with worry, we need to start leaning on God's truths. The truth is, every time we see our child struggling with feeling anxious and worried, it's because they're believing a lie somewhere in their heart. From the heart, the mouth flows, and from the heart, beliefs come. And so we need to not just look at the outside of our child and the behaviors they're exhibiting that are showing worry and try to help them calm down and move forward. We want to address those underlying beliefs that are the lies that they are currently believing. And so we do that by replacing those lies with God's truth. Amelia's parents could have done this after she was settled down from that attune moment with her parents by looking at her and saying something like, gosh, it really feels like you're afraid of having to do all this alone tonight at the party. And she might even start nodding at that point. And we're going to say something like, when I think about what God's word says, though, Amelia, it tells us that God will never leave us nor forsake us. He's there at that party with us. And he wants you to have a great time. And he wants you to be successful at this party and enjoy it. So we need to come up with some plans for doing that. Another way Amelia's parents could have handled this is by pointing out that God never leaves us nor forsakes us because he gives us parents to help us in times of trouble. And we can help our kids when they're struggling with something. It's by replacing the lies that children believe with God's truth that we're going to see a reduction in how much our children worry. It's not because they're never going to struggle with worry again, but it's going to be because we're going to expand the capacity that our child's heart has to handle different challenging situations. Why? Because we are addressing the heart and we're expanding the heart's capacity through God's truth while we're eliminating the lies that are currently keeping that capacity kind of small. That's how we start moving forward long term. And so for you, a great action to take is start thinking even now about the types of worries your child has and ask yourself, what's the underlying belief that my child's struggling with there? What's the lie they might be believing? And if that's the lie, what's God's word say to address that? What's the truth we want to look to address that? Because most likely, if your child's struggling with worry, there's often patterns in that worry, things that they worry about over and over and over again. And so you can start looking for the truths because we don't want to have to think of it right in the moment. That can be hard, although I tell you, pray in the midst of doing these 4 phases and watch the Holy Spirit work through you to help your child. I'm telling you, that works too. But in the meantime, get ready with some good scriptures to address those lies so you're prepared and ready when your child struggles. Once you've worked through phase 3, you're ready to move to phase 4. In the CALM acronym, phase 4 is M, which stands for MAP. We need to map a plan forward. The best thing for our child to move forward is to have a small step-by-step plan to start seeing some victories. Because when I start experiencing victory, I can use those victories to speak to the lies. I can use that victory to speak to the worry, because worry comes when I don't have a lot of experience about something and I don't have a lot of victory in that area. So I start to worry about it. When I can start experiencing victory, that speaks to the worry and tells it to get on out of here. Amelia's family could have done this by coming up with several different plans in this moment. They could have addressed the worries about food allergies by maybe having Amelia pack a snack just in case there weren't any safe foods at the party, or offering to Amelia to walk through the buffet with her and see what they could do to help her select safe foods. They could have addressed the worries about friends by brainstorming some other people who are coming, or giving her a script to be able to say, what are you going to say when you walk over to one of your friends? Or what are you going to say if you see a new friend there? And what's a game you know they always have at this party that you can play no matter who's there with you? Those are some simple steps that Amelia can now take right now in the present as we get to the party, ready to go. And when she takes those steps, she's going to experience some victory there. And when she does, that's going to speak to the worry, because God's truths have been placed in her heart and some maps have been made here of simple steps she can take. And she's ready to start seeing a change here. Coming up with step-by-step plans sometimes feels overwhelming for a lot of parents. But in truth, it's not too hard when we just boil it down and say, what's going to help this kid? What's going to help this kid move forward? And if you'd like some practice with creating step-by-step plans, think of the last time your child struggled with worry and ask yourself what could have been a better step-by-step plan to help them move forward. This does not need to be a master plan that solves everything. It just needs to be a plan to get us over the hump and moving forward with one small victory. Another action you can take is start thinking about what you're parenting towards rather than just we're parenting against. So many times we tell our children, you need to stop this, stop that. But we really also need to identify what they should start. It's not enough to tell a child, you need to stop hitting your brother. We need to also say, you need to start using your words. Let me show you how to do that. It's not enough to say you need to stop hogging all the toys. You need to start sharing, and let me show you how to do that. And so we want to start thinking about how can we help our child who struggles with worries and anxious feelings? What should they start doing instead? As you step back now and look at all 4 phases of the calm response that you can have with a child, you can see how these all sort of blend together in one seamless conversation you're going to have with your child. But it takes some time to master each of these 4 phases. But you can do this. God decided when he gave you this child that you have, God decided that you were exactly the parent he wanted to work through to raise this child. I know. I say to myself, I don't get you, Jesus. I don't understand why you wanted me to help this child. I am so not able to do it sometimes. But it's not about you. It's about him. And if when we start responding with a calm response, these 4 phases, we suddenly start making more room for the Holy Spirit to work through us in our child's life. So go ahead and start responding calm to your child. And if you're looking for a few more strategies to help your child attune their heart, you want to check out some of the videos I'll put right here. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.